The struggle for independence in India was not only about its political freedom, but also about the economic revival of the country ravaged by British rule. Khadi, the movement which led to mass production of the hand-spun and hand-woven fabric for the freedom fighters, has today become the byword for rural empowerment in free India. Charkha, the spinning wheel by which the cotton was spun for weaving khadi cloth, popularized by Mahatma Gandhi, still represents the onward march of the Indian spirit.
खादी ग्रामोद्योग का काम लगता छोटा है, लेकिन इस तंत्र में और इनके सारे उपकरणों में जो स्वतंत्रता का भाव भरा हुआ है, वो किसी उपकरण में इतना भरा हुआ नहीं मिलता।
The rejection of the foreign goods and adoption of khadi as part of the freedom struggle, even today, provides hope for people across the world who are marginalized in times of globalization. Afrikhadi, the new Khadi initiative, has its roots in the post-apartheid South Africa's quest for a development model to protect and nourish its indigenous culture. A delegation led by Minister for Arts and Culture, Eastern Cape, Mrs. Nisimo Belendela, in February 2003 to India paved the way for Afrikhadi. A return delegation from India cemented the trust and enthusiasm in both sides to push the initiative to a movement. But it was the Gandhian legacy of Nadia Mir, a designer and craft promoter who is born in a Natal Indian Congress family of freedom fighters like Professor Fatima Mir, gave the quest for development model a Khadi twist.
I started to research development models in India that could help to guide our policy. It was at this time that I encountered the Khadi movement in India and understood the workings of the Khadi and Village Industries Commission. In South Africa, we've waged our political struggle, and now the economic battle has begun.
Afrikhadi was I'll say a byproduct of some of us looking at how to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Indian opinion. So as a media man, for me, to get involved in the centenary of Indian opinion was a privilege. And Afrikhadi was the effort of the celebration and commemoration of Gandhiji's real political work, and the efforts of my friend Nadia and me to look at the Indian craft sector while looking for development models for South Africa.
Afrikhadi is an exciting concept because Khadi itself, for all of us in India, in any case, is a very evocative word because it combines non-violence, freedom and self-reliance. Now, for South Africa, this has also been very important in terms of principles, and the wonderful binding link we have of Gandhiji having started his struggle, non-violent struggle for freedom in Africa, and also having thought of the idea of Khadi there, somehow gives a very strong spiritual meaning, I think, to this whole idea.
The role of GBT is to promote Gandhian thought and to promote development initiatives. And we think, all of us, the trustees, we've discussed it and we believe that this is a very good project.
The city of Durban and Phoenix made Barrister Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi. It was at Phoenix settlement in the suburb of Durban that Gandhiji started his experiments with truth. He moved to Phoenix Ashram in 1903 and started his journal, Indian Opinion, heralding a new phase of fight against discrimination and oppression in South Africa. At Phoenix, Gandhiji conceived the idea of Khadi and also experimented with his concept of rural self-reliance and Swaraj, before making these the byword of Indian freedom struggle. The search for new development model for the rural sector, especially with regard to textile-oriented crafts in South Africa, is inspired by the beginnings made at Phoenix.
In June this year, it marked 100 years since Mahatma Gandhi initiated his political struggle in South Africa and founded the Indian Opinion. And to commemorate this, a conference was held on alternate media. At this time, the Gandhi Development Trust honored our President Mbeki with the Gandhi Peace and Reconciliation Award. This seemed to be the ideal platform to launch the concept Afrikhadi, which would bring together both our countries in the craft arena. For the Afrikhadi launch, there was a design range that was put together by designers that worked in both India and South Africa. Indian designers were given African design influence to guide their design direction. And khadi fabric was sought in India and taken to South Africa to be worked upon by African designers. And this joint showcase was what launched the Afrikhadi project.
After the first show in June in Durban, there was one show at the National Arts Festival in Grahamstown in South Africa. Then the show came to India with a month-long workshop at NID in Ahmedabad. So this made a lot of institutions like KVIC, NID, Ministry of Textile, Dastakari Samadhi, and a lot of government departments in South Africa get involved and get excited about the whole concept of khadi and the cloth and the craftsmanship of Indians and South Africa.
After 2 successful shows of the collaborative work in South Africa, there was a need to develop marketable product lines to serve the contemporary market. Gandhi Development Trust of Durban, which assigned Ukusa designs of Nadia Mir to take the Afrikhadi forward, got the support from Indian Ministry of Textiles, Khadi and Village Industries Commission. Thus, the Kari Hath Samiti and the National Institute of Design of India host a workshop involving designers and craftspersons from both the countries.
I've actually found out about khadi through Nadia. She told me about the fabric khadi, the history of the whole khadi, which was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi, when he sort of encouraged Indians to get back to the traditional ways of craft. And since we've been working with Nadia on different projects, our first project was Miss India South Africa, where we dressed all the national finalists in South Africa. And from that project, we've been mixing Indo and African influences, the culture, the craftsmanships.
The month-long workshop was a unique experience for the craftspersons of South Africa and India. They did not know each other's language, but they communicated through the hands and crafts. For young Indian designers, it was a breath of fresh air to encounter natural talents of 2 rich cultures.
Our beadwork is the same. There is no vast difference, but the difference is where they are using a lot of beads in clothing, whilst in South Africa we are not using the beads in clothing that much.
When I compare the beadwork, I see that their beadwork, they are doing it in their traditional way, and we are doing our beadwork in our traditional way, so that we have learned that we can do our beadwork in their traditional way. And then we learn how to make Indian traditional beadwork.
ये आपकी डिजाइन है, अफ्रीका की डिजाइन है और इंडियन डिजाइन है, उसमें मिलजुल कर एक डिजाइन बनाएंगे, नया कुछ।
खादी पे जो काम करते हैं बीड्स का, अगर ऊन का बीड्स खादी के साथ लगाया जाए तो वो मार्केट चलने वाला है। और मेरी भी यही ख्वाहिश है, मैं चाहता हूँ कि ऊन का बीड्स खादी के साथ जो है वो लगा के मार्केट में बेचा जाए।
We were supposed to work with one craftsman each, so I was supposed to work with him. So he essentially works with brass and white metal, and he molds them into beads, hollow balls, and several kind of things. So it is we're supposed to make jewelry out here, and I'm doing a lifestyle accessory design course. So it's basically, I would say it's very interesting working with such people, because you won't even imagine how intricate details they work with, and plus the aesthetic sense that they have is amazing. I mean, you can't even imagine a person who's living in such a small city can actually make such things with such details and with such beauty. But now I'm getting to work with glass beads as well as metal. So now, on the other hand, he'll also learn from us. He now gets a new a new scope altogether. So when now he go back to his city, he'll be able to work with more designs and with a wider variety.
Personally, as director of the institute, seeing them work under the project room for a month like one family, and morning till night, sharing that spirit and, looking at how to make this collection come alive. That was the best part of the whole thing.
The Afrikhadi show, which followed the workshop, was the exposition of this immense new enthusiasm and energy, which had emerged out of this unique blending of creativity. The Siddhis, the African Indian community who danced to the traditional music at the show, reminded the audience that an Indo-African fusion of cultures is not a new event in history. For the sagging morale of Indian Khadi sector, battered by the aggressive westernization, Afrikhadi provides a big boost. Afrikhadi is also a fitting centenary tribute to the man behind the Khadi movement, Mahatma Gandhi.
Here is a good example where the craftsmen of metal, terracotta, bone, beads, and then the designers of the modern mind, trying to give the interpretation where the craft transcends to become contemporary design. From the yesterday's innovations, which has become tradition, goes back to today's innovation and creates that connectivity to the modern world.
I really do think it's an honor being here, and the thing with South Africa and India, I mean, it's been, besides being cricket rivals, I think it's a relationship it's been meaning to come for a long time, and yeah, it's great to incorporate India, South Africa. I don't know, there's a connection. That's why I'm here.
the point is that in typical way in which the designers and the crafters work, the artists work, they have brought together in a marvelous way, in a very original way, the histories of two nations, the cultures of two nations, the struggles of two nations. In fact, in terms of today, the aspirations, the national development aspirations of two countries and two nations, in a wonderful, concrete way in which only ordinary people are able to do.
For Indians, Afrikhadi at best is a resurgent activity, but for Africans there is an excitement of finding a new movement for themselves, which is in tune with the legacy of anti-apartheid struggle.
Very impressed. In fact, we did not realize how versatile the khadi material is. So it was a learning curve for all of us.
From Gandhi Development Trust Peace Award ceremony and opening of the Grahamstown National Arts Festival in June 2003, Afrikhadi has evinced keen interest from many government departments of South Africa, including the Durban municipality, who is planning to adopt Afrikhadi as program for the marginalized people. The Afrikhadi show from Delhi has travelled to East London, in the heart of Black South Africa, to form the part of the new Rural Empowerment Program of Eastern Cape.
Khadi material that you can take it to another level, and that the whole partnership that has started is the beginning of exploring the global market, as the Deputy President has stated. And for us as South Africans, we just need to concretize the partnership and take this to another level.
This is just the start to a long road ahead. This is just an initial test phase with a garment range, but we're planning to work on a soft furnishing range, which in the South African context I think would have even wider appeal. We're also very keen to export the khadi fabric so that other designers in South Africa would have greater access to this fabric, and it would broaden the scope.
The whole concept of khadi is so important in addressing the issue of poverty, because now it has been shown that poverty, unemployment cannot be addressed through big industry. There has to be small industries, handcrafts and so on. And people will have to see that they have to support those small industries. And I think the more projects like Afrikhadi can take off in both countries, I think both in India as well as in South Africa.
The excitement of finding a new movement is over. Afrikhadi will now undergo the hard market reality tests, but with lot of push from both India and South Africa and the city of Durban, where the Gandhian legacy of 20 years of struggle is still fresh in the memory. Afrikhadi is now becoming the fitting tribute to the Mahatma, who believed in Swaraj and self-respect of the oppressed and downtrodden across the world. In the